Hello folks, it's David with URAL Motorcycles, back with you again for the second installment where we're going to tackle the bike that is representing 2015 to 2019. As you can see, it's already been completed, so I'm going to show you how to do that with this one simple trick. Despite all the interruptions, I was able to get this part done, and then there'll be a part 3 where we go over 2020 to current. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button so you can get early notifications when videos like this or anything else pertaining to URAL come out. So let's get to how I did the spare tire to front installation on this rig right here. What I've done here is added the rear brake adapter to this wheel. Sergey's bike didn't have one, so I put it on because that's what you would normally see. And then on the other side, because this is set up primarily for the rear fitment as a spare on the bike, because more than 3 times the sidecar or the front tire, that's going to be the tire that goes flat. So that's why it's set up primarily as a rear spare. So what we're going to have to do is remove the splined coupler that engages with the final drive, or on 2-wheel drive models on the sidecar it would also engage with the drive shaft. We're going to replace this with this rotor and the rotor adapter. If you've seen my other videos on spare to rear and spare to sidecar, you already know this, but if you haven't, I would encourage you to go back and watch those. They're older, but I think I still get the point across that if you're on the side of the road and you haven't equipped your bike with more manageable tools to make some of these jobs easier, the early disc brake bikes, 2014, 15, 16, I don't remember exactly when they changed it, but the hardware was changed out from a button head to a cap head screw. So you could go from a 5mm to a bigger 6mm and have more engagement on the head. So if you're using the tools out of the toolkit, it does make it easier with the newer hardware. And we did make the change because people were rounding these out when they got corroded in there, or brake dust and road grime kind of bonded them to the disc. It did make it very difficult, if you weren't paying attention, to strip these out, and making a roadside repair impossible. So in the other videos I showed this too, but there's multiple things in the toolkit that you could use as an extension handle. Now I've used this in the past, and it's a little awkward, but this spark plug wrench. But the important thing is to get down on this very, very tightly, like press with the palm of your hand. I'm going the wrong way. And give yourself a little bit more leverage to get these things out. Now you're going to want to step up to a 6mm and break all these loose so you can put this adapter on the other hub. Let's see if I can get this with a little screwdriver. This one's pretty stuck on there. So I'm just walking it back and forth millimeters at a time until it gets over that little snout. There we go. Yeah, this little collar right here looks like it was corroded in a little bit. Take your time, work it, it'll come off. All right, so now for the fun part. You'll see there's a circlip in there. Now there's no pliers to accommodate removing this in the factory toolkit. So I would encourage you to get a pair of C-clip pliers or circlip pliers and throw those in your toolkit just in case of this happening. But say you haven't prepared for a longer trip with more tools or more supplies, the early toolkit should have this little screwdriver in it. And if it doesn't, if you check your toolkit and it doesn't, you might want to throw something like this in there, or like a little scribe or something. So with the little edge here, you can flex it away from the wall and then get your flat blade in there. Now I tried and didn't succeed several times there, as you can see, but if you keep giving it a go, you'll get it out. The clip does get deformed a little bit, so in the case of an emergency, you can reinstall it when we put all this on the spare. When you get back home, have the wheel or the tire replaced and everything put back the way it was. You're going to want to use Loctite, maybe replace the clip and assemble it with proper tools with proper torque specs. So we've gotten everything we need off of this one. We can place it aside and get ready to install all that on the spare. So again, 6mm. These should be torqued. Hey! Anyway, I can't break these loose with the 6mm provided in the kit. Putting the spark plug wrench on there gives me just enough leverage to break those loose. Oh, came off very easy. Then inside you're going to have a spacer or a bushing and then a washer. And the way this intersects with the spline flange, that washer right there is actually what presses against the bearing to keep it in. Yeah, you'll see the groove is there, but the C-clip is not, because the bearing's got a different retention system for that setup. We're going to have to put the C-clip back in before we put this stuff on and the rotor on to make sure that the bearing stays put. Similar to how you took it out, get one of the little tails tucked in there, and then you're going to want to hold it as best as you can and try and pry pry it in there. I got to put this down on the ground. I can't do this with the wheel up. I can't stress this enough. If you don't have what you think you're going to need after reviewing your toolkit or what's in your bike, make sure you add that before you go on a long trip. You want to make sure that thing is well seated. Remember, we're supposed to be mimicking a roadside repair, so that's why I'm doing it this way. Otherwise, I would not suggest using the improper tools. And protect your face and your eyes, please. But we got it in. Much easier than it was to take out. Now we're going to install this bushing's just sitting in the seal. Now we're going to install this and line up the holes to hold our rotor. And then you're going to reinstall the bolts that were holding it on the other wheel. Oh, there we go. Take your 6 and get a couple threads started in each one to make sure it's aligned properly, and you're not going to cross thread something, steel bolt into the aluminum threads. This is an emergency. We don't have Loctite. We're just going to get them as tight as we can on the side of the road with a little help from that cheater bar that we've made out of the spark plug wrench. Or if you want to outfit your toolkit with a little bit more aggressive hex key set, that would be great too. Or even throw in a small ratchet set. You don't need a whole Allen socket set, but you know, at least the common ones, 5mm, 6mm, that'll get most everything on the bike. And we're gonna take our, you're gonna lock these down as tight as you can. I'm going back and forth to try and lock it down as even as I can. Now you're ready to put the rotor back on. Yeah, I mean, if you were at home and not on the side of the road, I would strongly recommend replacing these button heads with the cap head screws. Back to our 5. And then spark plug tool again. And get them locked down as snug as you can without stripping down those heads. All right, this is as far as I dare go, but it's solid. It's probably going to be fine for a few hundred miles at least, because you're going to want to get this all situated in a proper manner when you get to a shop or a facility or a friend's house or something where you can do it properly. This is supposed to be a temporary repair, and then everything can go back once the flat tire is fixed. So now that we got the spare situated, let's get out the flat. Again, we're going to take our bushing washer and spline shaft, put that back on the flat tire, run our bolts in so we can put all this back on the spare tire carrier. This doesn't have to be super tight, but you want to run them down tight enough that they're not going to rattle out while you're rolling down the road. Or alternatively, you could just throw all this in your trunk and not worry about this. Now you are ready to put the prepared spare on the front position. You're probably noticing I did not remove the rear wheel brake adapter. There's no need to. I'll show you when I get it all together. With that hanging there that you can grab it and stick it through, you need to remember that this needs to be inside there before you put the axle through. So if I was on the side of the road, I would usually use my boot or my foot to help me prop it up, and then you can get this close to where it needs to be. Make sure that that's over the axle. Get it engaged with the threads in here, and then you can get it started. And remember, it's right-hand threads on the front axles. So counterclockwise is tightening. In the first part of this video, part 1, I was using a screwdriver. Now I'm just demonstrating using another Allen wrench or hex key tool that's in the kit. You can use that too. Now somebody has said on one of the online forums that they didn't include a second 17 in the kit, but they did include a pair of pliers. Now that's not ideal, I know, but it will work in an emergency. And if you would like the advantage of having a second 17, throw one in your toolkit. Now we can go make sure that's pinched down. Yeah, it ain't going anywhere. See, I didn't even mar up the head that much, so in an emergency. Now you can put your caliper back on the bracket, and if nobody has touched the the brake lever, it should still fit on there. And if you haven't lost your 2 bolts on the side of the road, you can put those back in. Yes? Yeah, he's upstairs. Oh, maybe he go to lunch. After maybe 20, 30 minutes? All right, there we go. Now, as you'll notice, even with the rear wheel brake adapter, still spins, doesn't hit anything. So there's no need to take that off. You're just converting this side. 2015 and 19, ta-da. Now you can remove your block of wood and lower the bike down. That's one of the other reasons I like using a 4x4 is you can slide it around with your foot and it doesn't tip over like a 2x4. And remember how I said this was 15.5 inches? So you can stow it there, in there in the front of the seat. It stores out of the way in the trunk as well. I hope that explains how to do the spare tire to front on a 2015 to 2019. Next video we will get to this one, which is 2020 to current model year. I really appreciate all you watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up on the video, and I will talk to you all next week, and happy riding.